Chapter 4 It's time to show some real skills. When Fang Fu stepped into the inner hall, he felt 3 sharp eyes on himself. Wearing a crimson robe should be the official yin. Embroider Yanin. A. Siping officer chest embroidered silver gown of the uncle. His. Play more people organization. Oh my god, this girl is so good looking. She's so beautiful. Did you get married? Sweep eyes and chest again. Suki, and calm down a lot. Bow your head quickly and show great humility. Sitting tall in her large chair, her face was expressionless, and her interrogatory voice was authoritative. Suki-en, 3 days ago when you went to prison, you didn't say you had something important. You know the consequences of not reporting it. A veteran bureaucrat, even if anxious to death, never ask for clues. But psychological pressure can come here. That the plan has been half successful. Suki and is still calm. Adults. Just before Su Jian came to me, I asked him to the file first. Be honest. Present. 3 people all know Su New Year, not how famous he is, but as Su Ping's eldest son. 3 hosts will naturally have an investigation. What does this have to do with your clue? Asked Mrs. Chen. It is from the file that the grass people deduce the truth of the case. Wait a minute, interrupted Mrs. Chen, leaning forward slightly. From the file is not what he had in mind. I've solved the case. Su Quan nodded, indicating that it was so. Chen Fuyin resisted the idea of calling for the boy to be sent back to prison. His face was serious. Talk about it. But the official reminds you that if you talk nonsense, you will be separated by 200 boards. The tax and the silver robbery, in fact, is not evil, but man-made. In a word, 3 people were surprised. Chen Fuyin slammed the table and shouted angrily, nonsense. People, drag down. Staff charge 200 demonic plunder of tax. Silver is almost the final conclusion of the matter, is the consensus of the 3 hosts. If the previous expectations of Suki and can give valuable clues, now is completely disappointed. It's just crazy talk from a young boy in a hurry. The middle-aged man's eyes brightened slightly, and he waved at the Yemen rushing in. Don't be impatient, Sir Chen. He turned his eyes and fixed them on Suki-en with intense scrutiny and expectation. You tell me the Chen family is rather hot-tempered. He tried to speak in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing, to appear more composed and thus more persuasive. The Chen family nodded. That is why we conclude that this is a demon lurking in the river, looking for an opportunity to snatch the tax. Silver. No, Suki loudly refuted. The wind is just a smoke screen. The river explosion is also a smoke screen. In fact, in order to let you ignore a flaw, a fatal flaw, the Chen inquired urgently. What flaw? The middle-aged man assumed a listening posture. Yellow-skirt girl, biting candied fruit, did not chew. Those linky overflowing eyes, with interest in Suki, and they went through the files many times, and knew exactly what had happened. But they found nothing wrong. My second uncle is carrying 150,000 taels of tax. Silver. How many lords do you dare ask? The middle-aged man stiffened his face, while the girl in yellow dress tilted her head and did not come back. Please tell me what you have to say. Don't keep me in suspense. Su Quan's original intention was to give a hint and let the grown-ups solve this huge flaw themselves, but it seems to have backfired. Quick calculation ability is a little you ancient people. Su Quan immediately said, 9,375 jin. According to the mass conversion formula of this world, a jin of 16 taels, 150,000 taels of silver, is 9,375 jin. The middle-aged man frowned, vaguely grasping something. The girl in the yellow dress frowns. What does that mean? Her voice was as clear as a bell. That means you're not very smart. Uzi Suki and Road. How long is the distance from the gate to Guangnan Street? The middle-aged man replied, 30 miles. How many busy streets did you pass through? 4. How about nags? Nags. The middle-aged man suddenly stared and stood up. He widened his eyes with an expression of surprise. Surprise after 3 days of searching for the creature and finding nothing. The veteran fighter realized he might be heading in the wrong direction, but I didn't have a clear idea in my mind, so I didn't pay attention to it. After being denied, Mr. Chen's scalp was a little numb, for he still could not hear the problem, which showed that he was a particularly unintelligent family. Chen Fuyin looked at the yellow dress girl. Heart balance a lot. Yellow dress girl depressed. Where is the problem? The middle-aged man is somewhat excited. Time is not right. Guangnan Street is 30 miles away from the gate of Nanchang, to the inferior horses' foot force. Along the way to pass through 4 busy markets, and Maoshia into town, it is impossible to reach the Guangnan Street at the hour he is affected by preconceived ideas that this is the devil to rob the tax silver. After Su Qian immediately threw out the problem, but it is true that the tax money was delivered to Guangnan Street at the hour when many people saw the horse rushing into the river. It cannot be a fake. The girl in yellow dress is crisp. Chen Fuyin nodded with satisfaction and agreed. What is the solution? This the middle-aged man froze, subconsciously looked at Su Qi, and because it wasn't silver at all, Su Qian spoke loudly. Ridiculous. Chen Fuyin rebutted. Regardless of whether your uncle and the soldiers who escorted you had eyes or not, the records recorded the confessions of the people present at that time. The horses rushed into the river, and the silver rolled into the water. He shook a file in his hand. Is that false? Seeing is not believing. He looked at the table and said, I can borrow a pen and a paper. Mrs. Chen waved her hand and motioned to help herself Su Qi, and dragged the shackles to the table, poured water grinding, spread out the rice paper, crook it up to write, my lord, please prepare the paper according to the requirements of the grass people. Finishing, he handed the rice paper to Chen Fuyin. Chen Fuyin took the rice paper for a glance. Confused, let me see. The girl in yellow dress came to join the fun, holding out the white catkin to take the rice paper. Then I got confused. Li Yachen, a middle-aged man, glanced at the paper, made a blank face, pressed a corner of the paper flat without leaving a trace, and then handed it to Chen Fuyin.